God.
You running like us.
Yeah. Welcome to Amsterdam Talk, season 3, episode. I can't remember. I think it's it's 506, one of them two. Um, Tonight we have another podcast team in the building, and their podcast is called Married into Crazy with Ernie and Rana Kason.
Yes, yes. Hey, we're glad to be in the house.
Thank you for having us.
Nice to meet you. So before we get started, everybody that comes through Amsterdam Talk, I just like to anything can be said on here. It's like rated R. It doesn't matter what you say. You're not going to be sanctioned by the FCC.
All
So
right.
before we get started, tell us about yourself.
Sorry.
Okay. So again, Ernie and Ronna Case, and we go by Snooks and Levy. She's
I'm
Snooks.
Snooks.
I'm Levy. And we've been married going on almost 26 years now.
Wow, 26 years. It's great.
26 years. So there's been some drama along the way. Look, I'm gonna give you the short version. We met. People forced us to meet. Wasn't a blind date. They forced us to meet. She didn't like me. Told her I was a nerd. Then we got engaged 4 months later. Her ex-boyfriend attacked her, stabbed me through my heart. I had 2 open heart surgeries
Damn.
and all that, right? This is before we said I do. Then 4 years later, she said I want a divorce. And I was like, really? After all that? Anyway, so she wanted a divorce. There was a bunch of stuff that happened. We worked it out. And here we are 26 years later. And after year 4, we'll always reference in the podcast prior to year 4, after year 4. After year 4, we figured it out. We grew up a little bit. I grew up a little bit. So that's us. That's what we do. That's who we are. And we've been coaching and working with couples and individuals for the longest. I'm a coach for Eric Thomas, for ET, his Extreme Execution crew. And I'm also the moderator. I should say we are the moderators for ET's Thank God I'm Married marriage community. So we try and fit a lot in. What about you? You concur?
I agree.
I, I'm still stuck with you getting stabbed.
I knew that was coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, and then after 4 years, you say I want a divorce. No, not after attempt murder been put on me. No, you can't leave me.
All right. That's when the movie really starts. It's like, nope, I ain't going nowhere. No, but it was a trip. It was one of those things where she had an estranged ex. She told me up front. Dude was tripping, always showing up, just trying to exert himself. But she handled her business. I never had to get involved because she always shut him down. And this is long before I came on the scene. She was shutting him down. But once I was there, you said ET as in Entertainment Tonight? No, ET as in Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just so used to referring to him as ET. But if you're familiar with Eric Thomas, ET, the hip hop preacher, he's the #1 motivational speaker in the world. And so a lot of folks probably know him through the NFL, NBA, all that. But yeah, she shut him down, and the ex-boyfriend, but he found out we got engaged and he forced his way into her home. I mean, it was a longer story, but he forced his way in. He attacked her. I intervened. We got into it. When they pulled me off of him, we didn't know he had a serrated steak knife.
Mm.
And then, everything just went to hell in a handbasket after that.
Well, after 26 years, hey, congratulations. That's what I could say on that. Congratulations, 26 years. So, and I'm guessing that's how. Well, I should just ask: is that how you came up with the title, "Married into Crazy"?
No, that's not how. So we were at a wedding. My aunt and uncle were celebrating a 35-year anniversary. And my husband, Levy, he was in the bar area, and everyone, well, I won't say everyone, but all the guys that were there, they were all married into the family except for maybe 2. And he just kind of raised his glass and was like, let's toast to all of us being married into crazy. So that kind of just stuck, and here we
Yeah.
are.
Set the stage for crazy. But, a lot of people get somewhat offended. I won't say a lot. Some people get offended because, crazy can carry a lot of connotations. But
Right.
there's an acronym that goes along with that it stands for, and that's the 5 pillars upon which we teach.
So crazy stands for compassionate, real, accountable, zealous, and yielding.
Okay.
So those are our five pillars that, like Levy was saying, that we teach on. But when he said married and crazy at that event, he was talking about just crazy. He wasn't trying to
Amen.
be
Amen. Exactly. And all the fellas knew too. Look, I said it and they raised them glasses high.
whatever.
I mean, I thought I was the only one that thought like that because I tell any of my cousins' boyfriends that I meet, like, yo, you sure you want this? They like, yeah, we do. I said, I'll tell you straight like that. I know one of my cousins watching. And I normally tell them this. I say, listen, the men in the family, you can negotiate with us. The women, there's no negotiating. It's basically they're fighting. Like we're the ones you could talk to and be like, de-escalate. There's no de-escalating them crazy women in my family.
Uh, we might be related because you
Oh, in
y'all
your
cousins.
family. Okay, in your family.
Look,
I know you're
hey,
Shane.
that's exactly how it is over here.
Yeah, I done seen some of the craziness. They like, you gonna get your cousin? Nope. I'm minding my business. So to back, so Married and Crazy is your five pillars. And you say you deal with ET, the hip hop preacher, and you coach a lot of his individuals that come through his house of worship, correct?
Not through his house of worship, but there's so ET's got a thing called Breathe University. It's a whole community of accountability, and within
Okay.
there's several different groups that are within the different communities within the actual accountability group.
Okay.
And we just happen to be one of two moderators that oversee the Thank God I'm Married group. And so when I say teach, like I used to be one of his extreme execution, well, I'm still an extreme execution coach, but through that particular group, we do a lot of teaching, a lot of talking, a lot of leading for all the married couples and quite a few singles. I'd say about 25% of the people that actually come on to the calls, which we do twice a month now, about 20 to 25% are actually single individuals just trying to get some notes and figure out, okay, once I get there, how do I lessen the amount of craziness I have to deal with? But we promote crazy, I'm married into crazy outside of ET's community.
Mhm.
When we're
Okay.
inside the community, it's strictly thank God I'm married.
Okay. So that definitely sounds so. Thank God you're married. So I'm figuring through a synapses of what I think is basically these are individuals that come through Thank God I'm married. And you said you teach them how to deal with crazy, like all type of incidents and things of that nature that come up.
Just life in general.
Yeah, it's not necessarily through TGIM. It's not just about the five pillars are crazy. We talk about communication. There are just different themes. Whatever the actual theme for that week is, we expound on that within a marriage. So it could be, I don't know,
This
name
month
something.
it's about recharging, getting back to, finding balance and making sure that you're taking, everybody's grinding all the time, whether it's for the
Right.
marriage, the bag, whatever it may be.
Health.
Health,
Yeah.
and we just try to remind everybody that at some point, it's not about just grinding 120, but it's also about making sure you are able to recharge. That's where our focus is this month under ET's umbrella. But our particular group, we always try and focus on crazy because I don't care what your relationship is, whether you're single, whether you're married, there's always more ways you can be compassionate towards your spouse or your
Hmm.
partner.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so
So
we talk about that. There's always an opportunity to be more real. We're not talking about keeping it real. We're talking about staying focused on the reality of what the conversation is supposed to be. So many
right.
times we play up these scenarios in our head. How many times have you been driving home and it's like, yeah, and then I'm going to say this because she said this morning. I got this, and then when she comes back at me with that, oh, I already got it. I already know. I'm going
Laughing.
because. But see, the thing is, when you do that, you're no longer based in reality. You're based in you got this whole sitcom that's playing out in your head,
Mhm.
and you get home and you're like, babe, and then first thing she says is, hey, you know what? I was thinking about it. I was wrong, or we shouldn't have went that way. You went left, I went right. Let's just let's work this out. And you're like, but I just played this whole. I was ready. I had this whole thing in my head. I came to win, and that's where the problems arise because now you're focused on addressing what's in your head, not what's in the reality, and that's what the R stands for.
Okay. So how do you? Okay. So and we all been through there. That we played through that whole sitcom from start to end, opening credits to the end. So how as a man, I should say, like, from your instance, Lovey, that how do you kind of just like stop and say, I don't even want to deal with this episode, just like uh how do you stop that? What would you tell somebody how to stop that, not to play this sitcom in through their head to say she gonna say this, I'm gonna fire back with this, and so forth. How do you stop that?
It's a great question. It comes down to self-awareness. One of the things that I learned from ET, he trained me directly. I'm also DISC certified. And if you're not familiar, it's like a personality index type training thing,
Mm-hmm.
where you identify these different personalities. And one of the things I had to learn over time is that everybody has a different strength, if you will, or superpower. And we all have a tendency to lead with certain things. And by recognizing what my strength is, knowing who I am and what I do, and my preference and tendency to enter a situation, that's one thing to know me. But I also got to know what my spouse or my partner is all about. So that way, if I come at it like, okay, I got this scenario, I'm coming at you because I'm what they call a high D, which means that I'm all about coming in. It's about the task. I don't care about the body count as long as I get whatever I need to get done, get done.
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing that she's the absolute opposite, I know I can't do that because years 1 through 4, I did that and it created nothing but chaos. But now that we recognize what the other person's all about, we really try to make an effort to really speak their language. So that way, when we recognize that, okay, you know what, I'm playing this scenario out in my head, you have to have that self-awareness to know that, okay, I'm playing a movie and I'm not based on reality anymore. And you got to get your ego out the way. I'm just going to say, as a man, we got, especially as black men, we got to get our egos way out of the way because there ain't no room for your ego to be in that relationship. It's about us, not me or I.
Right. I mean, well, see me, I'm King Petty. That's just me. I'm King Petty. And I feel myself something. What you just said, that is strictly true. Like sometimes I need to take these situations out of my head and just like, because one of my older guys I used to work with, I call him my OG, older guy. He tell me, he say, yo, he's been married for I think 40 years now. He always tell me, say, man, listen, pick and choose your battles. Everything ain't worth fighting for, man.
Facts. Facts. What do we always say?
We have a saying, do you want to be right or do you want to have the relationship? And what that means is basically you could be right, but you can also lose the relationship at the same time. I would rather have the relationship because yeah, I could be right, but 10 minutes later is me being right going to improve the relationship? Is it going to change anything, or I just get to pat myself on the back and say, "Yep, that's right. I was right." And okay, you could be right by yourself on that couch
All right.
all alone.
That's right. I was right. I proved myself. Give me my
Mhm.
pillow, my
And
blanket.
my blanket, if you get the blanket.
Well, I guess that dates back to what Lovey just said as far as like the ego. Being right is just a part of it. And I believe when one of my favorite comedians, Chris Rock, said in one of his specials was, "Men argue facts, women argue to see how far they can go. They just throw out anything." Like I don't know if that's true or not.
Not true.
That they just say anything just to see how far you can push his buttons, to see how far before he snaps.
I can't speak on that.
I don't think that men always argue facts. I think that they argue they argue their factual feelings. That doesn't mean, because a lot of men, just keep it real, the ego comes from being in my feelings. So if I'm in my feelings, then I'm going to argue with just that much more vigor. And then you doesn't make you right, or does it make it factual? And actually it could be factual, but just factual to you, because if you believe something to be a fact, I could point out whatever, you're going to find some kind of way to make that fact be true. So I don't think that men are, I don't know if I think he was being facetious when he said that, cuz that almost makes it sound like you guys are right all the time and you're not. So
But I do believe that women don't have, like if let's call it a governor when it comes to their emotions. I think there's a lot of times that when once you kind of like, hit that button and it's going, it's like that there's nothing there to say, okay, once you reach a particular threshold, it's time to pull it back. I know that a lot of our arguments that once something starts to go, it's like, okay, and then this and then that. It's almost like that snowball effect where it's rolling down the hill and it's gathering steam
Mhm.
from the emotional standpoint. Not that women can't be factual, because this is the fact finder in our
I
house.
was about to say, so no, because there are plenty of men who do not know how to turn it off or turn it back around. hence the over aggression, the abuse or whatever, because you cannot, th- some don't know how to dial it back. So you use your anger as a weapon, and that's part of you keeping it going on. So
So how would you tell somebody how to dial it back, how to turn it off?
um so for me, it's something that we have to unlearn. I have to unlearn how to be to I have to unlearn how to stop operating in my emotions. It's a thing that now I'm aware that when I feel myself going from 0 to 100 like that, okay, I'm emotional. I'm no longer factual. I'm going straight emotion. So kind of like what Levy was saying earlier, it's about having self-awareness. There are so many things that we learn um, as we grow up, but there are so many things we need to unlearn as we continue to grow. We have to unpack a lot of things so that we can make room for rationale. We can't just always be emotional, and I feel like that's the thing that more times than not that gets us into trouble, because I'm basing it on my feelings. I'm emotional. My response is strictly emotional.
And it does take a level of maturity to be able to even identify that. If you're young in your relationship, I mean, and it doesn't matter if you're married or if you're not married, but if you're young and let's just call it immature in the relationship.
Yeah, not to cut you off, and it doesn't have anything to do with your age, but like you were saying, in your relationship. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. But if you don't have an alignment and what you both want in the relationship, it's going to be real easy to not understand where the other person's going or why they went there or what have you. So we always counsel to have check-ins. We have some couples that call it the what's up Wednesday. They just check in with each other. Hey, it's Wednesday. What's up? How are we doing?
Mhm.
Are we good? What's going on? Did I mess up? Is there something? Because if you have that scheduled, it's something that you're going to look at. There's no emotion involved. It's pure logic, right? You're just saying, okay, you know what? It's time for us to check in. Just want to know, how am I doing?
Mhm.
How are we doing? You
Mhm.
okay? Have I missed anything? Have I caused anything? It's
Yeah.
not like as soon as you did something, then it's like Dave Chappelle. She comes in talking about we need to talk. Well, why is every time we got to talk, it's about something I did? You know,
Right? So with that check-in, it could go opposite ways, because if somebody's like, why do you keep asking me this? Like, keep asking me, like, are you trying to find out or something of things that it could be taken at the wrong out of content.
So with the check-in, there comes we have what we call rules of engagement. So I mean, if we're going to implement a check-in type of system, we both have to be in agreement to that.
Okay.
So, okay, babe, just so that there's no missing communication, that we're on the same page. We don't have to wait to the next big blow up, because sometimes we hold on to things, and we only unpack them when there's a big fight. So now I'm no longer talking about the thing that was the real issue that we were supposed to be fighting about. I'm talking to you about something that you made me mad about yesterday. So if we do a check-in, we agree to what the check-in is. We're going to check in, and this is what the check-in is about. This is how we're going to go through it. We're going to govern it however you spill it. But you all set the tone for how you want your check-in to go.
Okay. So you just talk to each other basically, and you say, hey, this is going to be on a Wednesday or Thursday or Friday. We just check in and go from like, how am I doing? How are you doing? And just basically give verbal feedback.
that's exactly
Yeah,
right.
that's exactly
And
right.
it's agreed upon. And some people, yeah, I love what Glorana said. And fight fair, is the rules of engagement that Snooks was talking about. But yeah, but it's an agreed upon time. We have other couples that call it their board meeting. They just say we're going to get together and we're just going to chop it up. Just kind of see, okay,
Mhm.
what's the state of the union in our house?
Yeah, the
What's the
State of
state
the
of the
Union.
union in our relationship?
Yep.
Do we need a negotiator to come in
Yeah.
and work some stuff out? But it's really about you really just even keel. Let's just see how we're doing. But do it periodically. We say once a week. Some people do it every 2 weeks. But like Snook said, if it goes too far, things may happen. And by the time you get to that check-in, it's usually attached or tethered to some emotions.
Mhm.
And then that's when it's all bad.
Okay. So is tethered to some emotions. So like during this engagement, this fair fight, these rules of engagement, can things go left as well?
Well, I mean, there's always room for things to go left. That's just life. You can have the best laid plans and then it'll go left, But if we're that's why it's so important when we talk about what the rules of engagement are, because we set the tone for, and we set what the rules are. We have our own rules of engagement. If Levy starts, I feel like if he's getting out of pocket, I'm like, okay. So and let me just throw this in, within our rules of engagement we have a word, a safe word.
Hmm.
And if we're we're having conversation, and I feel like I become flooded because I feel like he's doing too much, or vice versa, I'm doing too much. We call the word, and we don't weaponize the word, so that every time we don't want to talk about something, I'm just going to say volleyball. That's our word because our kids play volleyball. So when volleyball is called, the rule is we stop, we take 20 minutes up to 24 hours, and then we come back and we revisit what was happening, what was said, what was going on, and we're able to move from there. So that's when it start to go left, you interject that safe word. Ours, like I said, is volleyball. All talk stops.
Okay.
But we have to the maturity comes from, he knows he can't weaponize it. I know I can't weaponize it. And when I say weaponize it, like I said, that's like giving you the hand. We ain't finna talk about this, So we have to be mature. We have to be fair, and we go from there.
Okay.
The other thing I'll say on that is that um, we're all human, right?
Right.
Everyone's human, and it can definitely go left. But you have to recognize that every relationship, I don't care how long you've been together, how perfect you seem together, there's going to be conflict.
Right.
And in every relationship, conflict is inevitable,
Hmm.
but combat,
It's optional.
and we have to recognize there's a difference between the two. Every conflict doesn't have to be combat, and there's really no need for there to be combative situations if you have these rules of engagement and you handle your conflict in a manner in which is respectful for both of you.
Right. Okay. So a question popped up when you were talking, Ron. I said, what about a once a month check-in?
I mean, that's fine too, because we can't say, "Oh no, you have to do it more than that." You and your partner, you all set the tone on how often you feel like you need to do a check-in. If once a month works for you, well, for the both of you, not just for one person. If once a month works for the both of you, then go with that. But if you start finding like, I don't know, maybe we need to talk a little bit more, then you move it on to you increase the time.
And I know I saw somebody, I think it was Ava that responded, and I'm a firm believer. I like once a week. We've got a thing. What we do is we just, it's daily. It's one of those things where it might be several times a day, where it's like,
Depending on the temperature.
yep, we good, and that's all it is for us. It's like, we
Mhm.
good, and she'll let me know like, no, I ain't good, and I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. And it's like, but it's just random throughout the day. I mean, but then you're talking 25, 26 years, but we're just random throughout she could be in the kitchen doing something or sitting down watching TV. I'll just walk in and be like, hey, we good? But it's understood. That's our language.
Mhm.
And there's times where she's like, and as soon as you see that pause, that hesitation, okay, let's stop the TV. Let's turn off the music. Let's pause everything. Let's focus on where the hesitation is. What's going on? Usually it's like, okay, what did I do? Or
That's about right.
but but it starts the conversation, and I have to say that everything that we're talking about comes back to having a conversation.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's the key, having a conversation.
Mhm.
So basically, I know that David said a month gives you time to hold in stuff. So when you feel like something is wrong, as you stated, you should just stop right there and just discuss it right then and there.
Yeah, so in football, you have your plans, or I mean, you have your, what is it called?
Referee.
Not the referee, but you have your this is the play we're going to make.
Okay.
But the quarterback, a lot of times Peyton Manning was notorious for it. I'm just going to do an audible,
Omaha, Omaha.
and you go with that. I mean, again, it's up to each individual couple, because only you two are the ones that are in that relationship. For us, like Lovey said, it could be ours is just the whole, you good, and I know what that means, he knows what that means, and so we go from there. Some other couples, they do it weekly, some do it bi-weekly, some do it a couple times a week. So really it depends on each individual couple. But
Yeah.
there's always, it could be, if I wait a whole month, I have a whole big old list of stuff that I need to, you know and now it's, you want to always make sure it's a safe zone. If I'm writing stuff down and I'm chomping at the bit to make sure I get this across, then it might come off a little bit combative. So you have to move the way you feel like is best for you and your mate.
And
Okay.
I'd like to address some Black Marvel throughout there. Black Marvel said a comprehensible conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I so believe that, because one thing that we talk about is a lot of people say, the key to a good relationship is communication.
Right.
And I believe that's the key that turns the ignition on. But like Black Marvel said, it has to be comprehensible, meaning that there has to be comprehension.
Mm-hmm.
We could talk at each other all day long, and that's a form of communication. It's not effective.
It's not effective.
Right.
But does the other person comprehend what you're saying? That's getting back to understanding each other's language and really talking to each other
Exactly.
in the language in which it's going to be respectful, but also be comprehended in a manner in which it's going to help them understand. And it goes back to Stephen Covey. He had, was it the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? First, seek to understand before being understood. And that only comes with comprehension. You have to be able to understand what the other person is saying for it to be a valuable conversation that's going to take place.
Right. That's true too. Go listening to understand instead of listening to respond. Listening to respond. And one of my things that I always say, are you listening? Did you hear me? Like, that's one of my things. Like, because people don't understand. There's a difference between listening and hearing. You hear me say something, but do you comprehend what I've actually said? Did you listen to it? And as I tell my brother, because I know he's watching too, when I ask him all the time, did you read what I wrote, or you just responded? Did you read it? You just responded. Like, so that is one of the big things: listening and understanding what is actually being said. So speak without offending, and listening without offending. And that's what I was getting ready to say, Black Marvel. Like, when sometimes people speak tones, the tone may drive a person to another level, or how to be hostility or feel some type of way, the way that you may come off to a person. So like you said, you walk in the kitchen, say you good, and y'all understand the language, but if I want you good, it's like, now my tone might have upset you because I'm saying it totally different than what you used to.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, and that happens. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, we go on 26 years, and there's some times where the tone is all off.
Yeah.
Right, but this is the thing that throws me off in today's relationships, today's dating. How do you detect voice through text message? And I get that because I see that all the time. You were yelling, like, I just text you, like, I didn't know they had a sound.
Look, bro, I was gonna be honest with you. It's conversations like this that make me feel old, because I'm only good for a couple of sentences, and after that, I'm like, okay, we talking. We gotta talk, because so much is lost in translation.
Yeah.
Right.
Even when we're like you said, even when we're communicating, so much can be lost in translation just because of tone, because of your cadence, inflections, so many different things. And when you've just got this black and white in front of you, and it's just words and letters and emojis popping up, how do you know what the person's really trying to emote to you honestly?
Right.
And it can only be done through conversation.
I mean, which is true, but that's the way the world is going. Because most people, I guess you would say, a lot of people use it to pass the time during the day because they sit at work. I mean, well, pre-pandemic, when we were at work, well, we still at work, but some of us are home. The ones that are in the office, we basically just text all day to run through the time. And sometimes, like you just said, you might want to pick up the phone. If we're going to text for 6 hours, you might as well pick up the phone.
Right, exactly. But I get what you're saying, though. But the newer generation, people text. That's just the way it is. All right, we're going to message, we're going to text, we're going to voice message. That's one option. If you feel like, okay, I don't feel like picking up then do a voice message. at least then I can actually get some inkling of what you're kind of like driving us toward.
Mhm.
Text a
Right,
little bit, voice message, get that in there.
right. And also, a thing that I know that goes on a lot with this new genre as well, that if I don't text you back fast enough and I see you post something on social media, that becomes an issue.
Relationships get lost over that. She's laughing because
I'm
of her
laughing because
daughter.
we have two daughters. One is 19 and one is 22. And that I'm just like, so why do you feel the way that you feel? Or why are you responding the way that you're responding? Because that is in their mind, social media, the whole response, blah, blah, blah. I was like, to me, it's ridiculous. So I'm like, maybe I'm just out of like Lovey said, I'm old school and I'm old, I guess, because
But it's real. The relationships have been ruined because
yeah, there
so
have
and
been
so,
some.
and I saw that they read it and they didn't respond,
They left
and
me
then,
on red.
and I'm like, okay, first off, okay, leave that alone. And if you're ready to drop somebody like that, is it truly a relationship?
Right.
But again, it comes down to the definition of what's a relationship.
Hmm.
Right. I totally get that. And you were right what you just said. Relationships are definitely destroyed through social media because with the world producing and the internet's producing this like this secret world that seems that nobody lives in. This world is so perfect. Everybody's rich, everybody has things going well, your kids are good, your husband wife not cheating. Everybody has this perfect persona in this global world. But in actuality, when you talk to them, their world is really falling apart, and everybody's living a facade because they actually say, if you don't see it on social, this is crazy. If you don't see it on social media, meaning it ain't true.
Hmm.
But see, the thing that gets me with that is that just like you just said, everyone knows that social media, that's a snapshot. We all know it. So
Right.
why do we all drink the Kool-Aid and think that, oh, it was on social media and it's true, but 2 hours ago you just literally said it's not real, it's fake, it's just a snapshot, it's just this, it's just that. So why are we all feeding into, and I'm obviously generalizing, but why are so many people buying into that that it's real because it's on social media when we really know it's not real? I won't say, and I'm not being fair because some of the stuff that you see is real. Like what we post, that's real.
Is it?
Um, okay,
No,
well,
I'm just playing. No, but look, I even tried pushing back once. We started this thing called the Married Minute, where just at the drop of a dime, if we're in the middle of something, I would pick up the phone, try and record it, get the real, the
Right.
argue, the disagreement, whatever. That didn't last long because somebody just stopped all of a sudden. It was like, as soon as it hit record, it was like, eh, eh, because I was on this kick for a long time about, okay, if you're going to post something, post it all. Look, I want to
Right.
get me, getting out of bed with, the sleepies in my eye and, you know, uh,
okay, but we don't need to overshare either.
but I'm just going to say, but we shouldn't also be projecting, like you said, a facade that doesn't truly exist. Somebody sitting outside of, you're outside this Austin Martin and you lean over with your hand on the door, like you about to get in your car.
Hmm.
Okay.
Posting that craziness that's got to go. Or you rented it for the day or for 20 minutes, whatever it may be.
A lot of that goes on. A lot of that goes on some of your favorite celebrities.
Hey,
Right, that part.
facts. Yeah.
But speaking of celebrities, that's another thing that people think these celebrities now become relationship goals. And I don't understand it because I don't know these people. I know you from what you do as whether it's your
As your
show, your
job.
athletic, yeah,
Exactly.
your job. I just know when you're in front of that camera, yeah, everything is going to be fake and phony. I don't know I don't know what happens in Obama and in Michelle's house after they get off the screen. I don't know what
Mhm.
happens in LeBron and Savannah's house once they get off the screen. Like, far as I know, it could be a lot like, and this is known fact. Cal Ripken had a stellar career for the Orioles, but he used to beat his wife every weekend. Everybody in Baltimore knows this. It's like domestic violence was heavy at the Ripken house. Police were
Right.
always called. but it never made the news because of the fact is like I'm this superstar of this town and blah blah blah. But you can't make that a relationship goal because you don't know these individuals. Once the cameras start rolling, for all I know, you could be dealing with Ike Turner.
Right.
Hmm.
That's true.
There's a lot of things that take place in our society, and it's this overarching. I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong. Um, Anesthetization. Like when you anesthetize yourself, when you're taking this anesthesia, but we do it not just with alcohol or weed or illicit drugs, but we also do it with forms of media escape. Right?
Right.
We're going to watch this movie. People dive into a lot of these. Uh, what do you call it?
The
Reality
reality TV
reality
shows.
TV,
Yeah.
and it's because you're trying to escape something that is existing in your life more times than not, or you want to believe that there's something better out there. Oh, I can see myself doing that. But the problem is you're not getting to know yourself, and it comes back to knowing yourself. If we spent more time trying to really operate within our reality, and if you don't like what you have in front of you that's showing up every single day and working on it, as opposed to sitting back and watching somebody else and placing them up on a pedestal, then they're only there because we put them there.
Right.
You stop buying the tickets, guess what? Cal Ripken don't mean jack. You stop buying the tickets, then Will and Jada, their movies flop. If you stop buying the tickets, to whomever, it's one of those things. You stop following some of these influencers, all that changes. And then you get to see their true colors, and there's a lot of people out there that are the gurus, that are these different things. And then, what happens in the dark comes to light. I firmly believe that. And it's one of those things that, given enough time, an opportunity for the cameras to catch up,
Right.
you're going to see the real them.
Right. And that goes along the lines when I was listening to an old 50 Cent interview today, and he was talking about marketing as far as like Beyonce, Jay-Z, and Mariah Carey. He was basically saying these record companies, they'll put 20 million just in marketing. So whereas though when you go outside, you see Jay-Z's new album on the bus, you see it on the bus, you see commercials, you see videos, you see things on the internet for it. So that record company is oversaturating you to say, hold on, let me see what this about.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then he basically said, that's when they put you on top on this pedestal with that $20 million market. But if you don't sell like you're supposed to, then next thing they like, oh, he's not big anymore because the marketing and the branding goes away. The budget becomes lower. So what I'm basically saying is, what you said and bring it to a reality. If we're going to promote things like what you say you do in Married and the Crazy, and what I do as an Amsterdam talk on these pedestals, like you got to show your wins and losses as well. You just can't say I'm up every day. We lose. And just like you said earlier about it's going to be conflict in every relationship. It's just about if you feel like, I guess, being combative, you feel like booting up and suiting up and ready for a war, I guess.
True. I mean, when you mentioned, Beyonce and Jay-Z. I mean, about the biggest conflict we ever saw was, when Solange and them, when they got down in that elevator. But then everybody followed, and then, the recoup, and then so many things happened after that, but it was about the marketing machine. Yet again, they're able to turn that around completely. But what's nice is that there are people out there that give you the good, the bad, and the ugly that will talk about it. It took Snooks a long time when we started our podcast. We've been doing this since 2018.
Mm-hmm.
It took her a long time to get comfortable with us kind of airing some of our dirty laundry out there for the world. We talked about parenting issues, mistakes, challenges between us. Like right now, we talk a lot about, us being that proverbial grandparent that's going to be taking, a more active role in the raising of their grandchild. Stuff that it's painful, but is real. And there are people out there that have those conversations. But here's the thing: it's not sexy.
Right.
It doesn't make you take your eyes off of you. It just makes you kind of, sometimes if you're too real, if you're being honest, it's really just kind of reshining a light back on the stuff that many people are trying to get away from on a daily.
And that's this world that Mark Zuckerberg and them created. It takes you away. Now, you said issue. Now, let me ask you this, because you have two girls. So I'm pretty sure growing up, it was a lot of things, Dad, you let bypass, but Mom was like, nah, is the daddy girl thing. Like, I'm gonna let her go. She can do this. You just bypass it. But Mom like, nah, that's not rolling.
Actually, we have three. We have a son and two daughters. And we just mentioned the girls earlier because they're the ones into the whole social media thing,
because they
Okay.
still live at home.
right? And but no, that's the truth. And our son used to always say, "Look, I could never get away with that." Or, "Why are you so much more stringent with me?" A, he was the oldest, but two, there is a certain thing. There's this thing about daddy's girls.
Right.
I'm hard on them, but not to the extent that I don't know. I don't think I'm super hard. I just want them to be strong, independent women that I'm not going to say don't need a man or need somebody in their lives, but somebody that when the time comes, they can stand on their own 2 feet, when they want to, when they
Mhm,
choose to,
mhm.
when they want, you know what I mean? So they can be truly independent. So hard on them as far as expectations, trying to create some drive within them. But yeah, they got away with a little bit here and there. But
And
daddy,
and I'm pretty sure it's vice versa with your son. Mommy let him get away with a lot of stuff you didn't.
So when as he got older, I felt like I would be the I want to say the voice of reason because when boys get older, I don't know. I had to literally tell my son one time he was just like I don't know. I felt like he was going to try to man up, and he was in the bathroom and I said I was like your dad will kill you, right? And he was like, well, yeah, he deflated like, and I was like, okay, because I I I don't have it in me to pull him off of you. So
Right.
don't ever, because Levy's a big guy. Don't ever get to where you feel like you could stand up and you could, bravado, whatever that is. We're not going to do that because I'm not going to hurt myself trying to stop him from killing you. So
but she was. You're right. She was the mediator. She was. But from that standpoint, though, I mean, I think we as men, even though my dad wasn't in the house, I only challenged him once. It only took once to let me know the difference between boy strength and man strength.
Right. But as like you said, as father to son or son to father, I feel like we all been there. We all want to test the king and see if we can dethrone him. But like you said, there's a difference between a 30-something-year-old man versus a 12-year-old boy. It's like it's the strength is totally different.
Oh,
So
facts.
yeah.
yeah, so yeah, everybody, and to this day, I'm 40 years old. To this day, I can call my dad now and say something out of character. He just say, "Boy, I ain't your friend," and I'm back to normal. That's just that. I'm not your friend, and we just go from there. And and that was a conversation I was just having with my mother probably about an hour ago. It's just like today's parents and a lot of the younger generation, they're treating these children as friends, and then they get older and you can't tame them no more because they look at you as a friend instead of being a parent.
Mhm.
And as she stated to me, was my mother was stern. My rest of soul, my grandmother, that she was stern with my mother, but as my mother got older and had me, that's when they became girlfriends as she got older. So
Mhm.
it was already the mom and dad relationship was there, but as she got in her 20s, it was like, all right, now you my girlfriend. It
Mhm.
wasn't mom and dad, mom no more. It was like you're
Mhm.
my girlfriend.
Mhm.
But that's what I see a lot of these days. These parents are actually like befriending, like I'm your father, I'm your mother. And I haven't heard this in years. Like I brought you in this world, I could take you out. I heard that a bunch of times.
Yeah, I think a lot of
Yeah,
us in this
yeah,
generation
I
grew up
heard
with
that
that.
too. But the funny thing too is, so I was raised by my mom. My
Mhm.
mom was a single woman, and one of the I want to say it was a challenge for Levy when we first got married is that my mom never. I always say my mother didn't raise me to show me how to be a wife. You
Right,
know, always have your own. You don't depend on anyone. So I was like, oh, I got this. And that created an issue um early in our marriage because I'm like, back up, bruh. You know, I didn't
right,
know how to yield, and
right,
and not in a negative way because I know as women, the word submit and whatever, but Lovey and I learned to submit to each other. But
right,
I didn't know how to be anything other than who I am.
right,
So I rate with our girls, I feel like they see that obviously they see the difference. So they see that my husband, obviously their dad,
mhm,
how he cherishes me, how he protects me, how he's making sure that everything is taken care of. But they also know that, okay, well, mom is kind of hood too. So she got it herself. If anything was to ever happen, that they know if I had to stand on my own, I could.
Right.
So we're better together, but I also got this by myself. And that's how we raise them to be. So,
But they also, there's a clear line. There's a definitive line between them and us.
yeah.
And because there's times every now and then, because like Snooks will joke, and some people do. They're like, like she's talking with her mom, and they're just chilling. They're talking, they're having a good time, and then she'll be like, "Linda, look, I could have been, both my parents are gone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that. Actually, I can tell you right now, in all honesty, I have never called my mother or my father by their first name, because I still look. I'm a grown ass man, and I figure if my dad could, he would come back right now. If I said referred to him by his first name, I would feel like this ghostly punch in my jaw. That
But
just
see,
wasn't it. But the girls will do it. They'll push the limit, and they know it doesn't bother her because they're talking and they're playing. But with me, it doesn't fly because I still got that old school.
but is the thing, the women in my family, none of the boys, none of my uncles or anything like that, but all the women, my aunts, they did it with my grandma. They'd be like, okay, Jewel, and so now my cousins, we all do that with our mothers. I'm like, okay, Linda, go sit down, and so they do it. And so now the girls, would be like, Rana. And you know there's a line, like they know when to say it, when not to say it, but it's not like we just walking in the house random.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
Rana, blah blah blah, whatever. So
Yeah, but I'll be 2 rooms down and be like, oh, wait, what?
And I feel you, Ernie. I feel like that if I call my father right now and be like, "What's up, Odell?" He'd be like, "Who the fuck is Odell?"
Yep, I
Like,
feel that. Yep.
that's so
I'm
funny.
like, "Yo, Dad, what's up, Dad?"
Yeah, you might want to lock the doors because he might be halfway on his way over.
Nah, he probably sleep right now because he ready to go to work. But you're right. He probably like, hold up, this motherfucker. Hold on, I'm going down his house right now. But it's just a line. Like my mom, I call her mom. I call my grandma. And that's just that. I've never stepped into those realms to actually call them their real names because I don't really want to be getting up off the ground. That's just
Right.
how I feel.
Look, we're on California, so I'm in corporate America, so I got like a lot of other friends, right? I got a lot of white friends, all that.
Oh,
We've been to functions,
mm.
and we'll sit there, and a kid will be like, "No, Gerald," or whatever. They'll just talk to their parents, and we're like, and we just sitting there like, "Ooh," and we look at each other like we get scared, like, "Oh, it's about to go down," and they're trying to reason and talk to their kids, whatever, and I'm like, "Oh." At that point, then it's just bewilderment. We're like, "Is this really going to happen? They're really going to let this? They're going to sit down and talk to them, this, that, and the other?" And then Mono will look at me like, that'll never happen in our house, right?
We do that. I mean, sometimes we would be in the store when they were younger, and we'd see someone just being totally unruly, and I'll just turn and look at them. They're like, we know, we can't do that. We that would never happen. I was like, yeah, like I'm mad at them now just because.
Right.
Oh, they want to know about the boycotted wedding. The boycotted wedding.
You want to tell it?
It's your family. You tell it.
So when I got stabbed, my
You just make it seem so like cool. I got stabbed. Like I got stabbed. All right. Like it's like, hold on, man, trying to take you out.
that happened in
1996.
Yep, that happened in 96, April of 96.
Yeah.
And when that transpired,
Mm-hmm.
my family, they went from, "Oh, she's the greatest thing in the world. We're so happy you're with her," to, "Okay, she had something to do with that." It became like this love triangle type thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it actually got reported in the news as a love triangle. Now, people saw that story, but then when they went around and what is it? Not redacted it. When they went back and changed the story to update it to make sure they got the story right, nobody read that part. They only saw the upfront. But my family was upset. And so there was this woman, while I was recovering in the hospital, I was in ICU, and the gentleman that actually stabbed me,
Mm-hmm.
his aunt was a good, God-fearing woman.
Mm-hmm.
And she would pray and pray and pray over me. And when it came time for us to get married, I was like, I want her there. This woman just, you know what I mean? She stood in the gap and she became a prayer warrior on our behalf. And I just felt like I want her there at our wedding. My family found out and it was like, we ain't having it. To the point where the men in my family called a meeting, and my grandfather and one of my uncles basically told me straight up, if that person goes, we're not going. And so at that juncture, we just said, okay, fine. Well, what I said was, well, you don't got to go. I told my grandfather, my uncle, well, then you just won't be at the wedding. We told my dad, or she told my dad.
Well, we were at your house.
Yeah.
I mean, at Dad's house, and Dad was upset because he was like, you know what? If they don't want to come, then f them. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, what he said, but
And we were full on, but the lady, to her credit, she just said, I don't want to cause a rift. So she did not actually come. But they definitely tried to boycott. And there was an air that was in the room, in the reception, all of that.
oh,
And the killing part about it is, what's really funny is that our marriage lasted longer than all of our parents' marriages combined. My dad's was married 4 times. I mean, not combined,
no, I was
but
about to
my
say.
dad was married 4 times. My mother was married 3 times.
Hmm. My dad was married 3 times, and my mom was married 2 times.
So we had these folks trying to give us advice.
No, no, no. We didn't have these
I
folks
had
trying to get,
folks.
Levy did.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the boycott story. And kind of like you said, it was just the atmosphere even at the reception was kind of
It was all,
so.
but it's okay. But you know what? We're together, and that's the biggest thing. Once you get married, once you cross that line, you jump the broom, you do whatever it is. When you become a union, it took us 4 years to figure it out and get it right.
Yeah.
But when you do that you're the new universe. Don't nobody else matter. Seriously, it's like you are now. It's not a heliocentric universe. It's your couple. It's the two of you. It should be focused on the two of you, and the rest of the universe and the world revolves around you. That's the way we feel like you have to look at it, including your kids. Kids gotta know that you're a united front. Your family needs to know that we are a united front. It's us two versus the world.
Yeah, us too, and then the kids.
Yeah, the kids. Yeah. You still there?
Okay, so Rod is I think he's having some technical difficulties, but guess I'm gonna have to step in for him just a little bit here. Um you all said you on here that you gonna vow to help a million couples. And I understand the significance about wanting to help these folks, but helping a million couples when there's so much divorce going on. I mean, people are getting divorced right and left. People are marrying for superficial reasons. I mean, how are you all going to navigate helping these superficial individuals and, of course, these people who are basically on the verge of divorce?
Well, I mean, first of all, we do say that we do vow to, well, help a million couples, but the only way that someone can help you is if you're, I don't want to say coachable, teachable, but kind of like that. You have to be willing to be open, be transparent, be real about your situation, and actually want to be in the relationship. So if you're willing to put the work in, because you're not going to just by osmosis just work it out. One thing with Levy and I, okay, so we heard a little bit of the story. I asked for a divorce. What we didn't say is that I got laid off the day before he was going to move out. And he said, no, I'm not going to move. I'm going to stay until you get a job because I want to make sure that my family, probably not me at the time, but the kids were taken care of. And I was like, okay, cool, bet. I found a job because I was like, I'm ready for this to just be over. Now we actually each had basically one foot out the door. And for us to be able to come back from having one foot out the door to being where we are now, we know that it can happen. But we had to be willing to work. We had to be willing to be real. We had to be willing to, like I said, be transparent. It wasn't just okay, well, that's let's just do it. And no, It's going to require some sweat, some tears. I don't know, you might bleed a little, I don't know,
Right.
but
There's gonna be some of
it's
that.
going to be, it's going to take work. And if you're willing to do the work, then okay,
And
let's go.
the million couples is a hard metric to actually. How do you know? Right. I've been asked that many times. How do you know if you're helping a million couples? And it is. It's more of a guideline. Us talking to you right now, there might be X amount of individuals that are watching, listening, and somebody's saying, I can take some of these nuggets and apply it to our relationship. But then inadvertently or indirectly, that person, by living out, whatever the nugget is that they got from us, then they're able to actually model that. And then they're able to turn around and develop a relationship and then maybe go talk to 2, 3 other couples. It's that branching off. And we don't know that we'll ever be able to count a million couples. Our podcast is in all these different countries. We've got different people that listen, single, married. We do coaching. There's so many different avenues. And yet, if we can touch one life and that one life can go off and touch another life, it's like that each one teach one. If it branches off and somebody's just constantly pouring into other couples and helping them have a fulfilled relationship, then
We
our work
count
is
that as
done.
a win.
People have asked us, why do you bring other married coaches onto your podcast?
Right.
You guys are coaches. And it's like, because you know what? Maybe it won't be us, but if we can actually bring these people on and then somebody resonates with them, and not us, then they're able to actually, we still helped. They still participate. So if they go out and help 1,000 couples, indirectly, that's 1,000 couples that we were able to actually touch and actually assist. So we're just down for the covenant.
Got you. Now, so, okay. And I have a friend that mom's is actually a marriage counselor. And she said when the pandemic hit, divorce rate went so high to back off with Daryl, just what Brother Pharrell just said, the divorce rate went so high because people did not know who they were living with or who they were married to, because it was just a bypass. I see you when I get up, we go to work, I come home, we see each other, we do whatever, and then I'm out. So basically now you're stuck in the house with a person for 24 hours instead of being in the house with a person. The average person in the house is about 6 hours, and that's just being awake.
Not only did divorce go through the roof, so did domestic violence.
Yeah, that's true.
So domestic violence, we have a brother that is a detective, and the domestic violence calls just skyrocketed because, like you said, it was like people, no longer had the chance to anesthetize yourself with your job. I'm going to be gone for 8-9 hours.
Right.
It was like, I got to look at you all day long. Ooh, I don't like the way you chew. I don't like this. I don't like that. There's so many things that pop up, but it's one of two things. Opportunity shows up in many ways. You have an opportunity to win. You have an opportunity to lose. And the opportunity that presents yourself in the relationship is, once you see it, okay, we're going to win together. We're going to lose together. We may have to relearn each other, but you got to be down for your marriage, and there's so many people out there that get married for the wrong reasons. Like Bruh For Real said, there's so many people out there that are kind of in it, but they're not sure why. You know what? I'm just okay. I'm just good enough. It's okay. I can do this. There's a lot of people that have been married for 30, 40 years, but they've really been roommates.
Well, that's another conversation in itself. People actually stand together because of these bills. That's been another situation in itself, and I can imagine in California with the renters over there.
It's cheaper to keep her. No, but it's one of those things too. Those aren't the couples we're referencing. We're talking about the covenant.
I understand.
We're talking about helping people actually stand before God, a higher being, and say, this is what we want to do. This is how we want to live. We're going to commit to each other and continue to grow. And that's what we're down for. But the people that are just hanging on, like, okay, we're just doing this for tax purposes. That's not our tribe. That's not who we're rocking with.
I understand.
That's a whole other podcast. That's a whole other group of individuals. Some people are out there for you like that. Go be with them. But when it comes to us, the million couples we're talking about are the ones that are actually trying to work it out, that are trying to live a fulfilled life together, and they're willing to put in the work.
And that's what it's about, work, because marriage and relationships are another job in itself. So this is the part of the segment right here. We got this thing called I Be Damn at the end of the night, and we bring up situations where it's just wild. Normally I have a video already loaded, but as I've been out all day, I wasn't able to load a video, so I got some things that happened earlier. And basically, I'm going to read these things. I'm going to read 2 of them to you, and you just tell me how would you respond to these things. So the first person said, My true love got married. We dated for 4 years. I paid a psychic 2,300 to help me get my man back. For a while, it worked. He left his wife and moved in. Now he's cheating on me with his wife and she's pregnant. Psychic says to let him go. I refuse to lose him again. Help me.
Is that real?
Yeah, this is what we get. Yes, this is real.
I'm trying to be respectful. Look, your man, your woman
He's not your man.
does not reside
He was with someone else.
does not reside in someone else's home, sleep in somebody else's bed, wear somebody else's ring. It's not your task to go get them from somebody else. It's not search and rescue. That's not what marriage is. That's not what a relationship is. It's not about search and rescue. I'm just going to say, search within yourself, honestly, to figure out what is it about this individual? What is it that you're looking for specifically? Let's find that in somebody else. Let's go find that other individual that has those traits. So you don't got to go through all the drama and save yourself $2,300, $2,400, $2,500. And that's something different. All right, cheating on me with his wife. Oh, okay, that's different.
So she said, I broke up with my baby daddy because he's trifling in every possible way. Our 2-year-old cries for him. I smell him in every room of the house, and I missed him. He's back home. He laughed at me. I've been breaking in and spraying my cologne everywhere. Damn, it worked.
Okay,
he
first
broke
word.
in the house every day. The spray is cologne.
Okay, can I? This is not right. Please don't send no hate mail. First word that came to my head was genius.
You think about it, that is very ingenious, right? It's just to keep coming and spraying your stuff all over the place.
Wow.
No.
I could go deep into some science on why that worked, but I will just say that. I'd be damned. What are you gonna say?
Little baby would get over it.
Yeah.
He'd get over it. He'd miss his dad, and but he could still see his father. That does not mean that we have to be together. That's just me. If he's trifling and he's not something that I can see myself being with in the long run, because we have a child together, that does not mean we have to stay together. This is not the 1950s. And instead of trying to, I don't know, I just feel like instead of trying to be slick about trying to get back in, just come correct and get back in the right way.
I just know that when I travel for business, I'm gonna spray her pillow now with my cologne.
I sleep with your pillow. What are you talking about?
I'm just saying, I'm gonna spray in the bathroom. I'm gonna spray her face cloth. I'm spraying everything.
See, I done started something now.
Yes, sir.
Whatever cologne you with. What? Somebody just said, if she can't handle my snoring, we can't work it out. Oh, okay. All right. Snores. Well, thank you again for coming in. Ernie and Rana married into crazy. Before we go, where can they reach you at if they have any questions or they want to just sit and watch?
I was told you cheat on your wife with your wife. Amen. There you go, Michael. I was just reading a little thing. That's right. That's my girlfriend right
That's
there.
right. Yeah, he's my boyfriend too.
You can reach us all things Married into Crazy. So every handle that we have, social media, Instagram, Facebook, it's Married into Crazy. You can go to marriedintocrazy.com. All the things that we do, coaching, speaking. You can go to raisethebarmarriage.com. That's actually on the website as well, where we can't coach everybody. And there's some people that just aren't down for committing to X amount of time for coaching, but they want to do things on their own timeline. So there's a video training series that's there about how to communicate, things to talk about, topics, discussions that you can do in a self-paced manner. So that's all under marriedintocrazy.com. Even links to our podcast are there.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming. Sorry for my technical difficulties. I tried to plug my I be damn video in and everything just cut off. It was just like, nah, not today.
That's all
It's
right. That's all
okay.
right. We learned something.
Right.
Yeah.
Fellas, get that cologne.
Oh yeah, yeah, cologne. I mean, you have women on these social handle sites like what type of cologne do men wear and blah blah blah, and they always ask that. And I always mess with them and say, go buy yourself a go buy your man some brute.
Maybe some polo, something from the 80s.
Yeah, or even my middle name, Jovan. Go buy some Jovan Musk.
I love
Go
it.
buy Jovan Musk for the men, and ladies, get yourself some white diamond.
I am so
Come on.
done. Oh
Well,
my
hey,
God.
we're very thankful that you had us on karate. We're thankful that you invited us to be on the show. Very blessed. Um,
Yeah, thanks for having us. We enjoyed ourselves.
Well,
absolutely.
I like thank you for coming through, and of course, you always welcome back any time to sit back, or maybe something new may go on that you may want to tell us. I like to keep the people informed, especially what's going on in the Black community, especially.
Yes, definitely.
If anybody has any issues in their marriage, I'll send them your way.
Please do.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just not the two from the previous I Be Damned.
No, no. These listen, I don't know. I need to really follow up on some of these stories to see if people really got back together. Because once I get the story, I'm like, you have to be with me to actually see when the story pops across my phone, and I'm sitting like, what in the world? Like, and I just retell it, like, okay, and I retell it and let people know that you think you got it bad until you listen to some of these stories, and
Wow.
Truth.
Yeah.
Straight up truth.
but
Yeah.
but they all, I mean, you sharing your truth, and they all funny, and I tell people you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
can't make this stuff up. But before you go, as they set out there, viewers that's watching, check in with each other, check the temperature once a week, every 2 weeks, every day, every month, however much you need it. Get yourself a safe word, and learn to drop your ego, and don't let that comedy, don't let that sitcom play in your head.
Keep it
Pick
real.
your battles.
That's
There you
right.
go. And just at the end of the day, learn to live and love crazy.
Hmm.
Learn to live and love crazy. And that's the show for today. Learn to live and love crazy. So I see you. I don't even know what I got next week. I'll see you next week, next Wednesday. That's all I can tell them. I'm so thrown off today. It's a shame.
That's
Uh,
funny.
you,
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
matter of fact, speaking right there, that's one of my cousins right there. He married into crazy. Thank y'all for coming, man. Y'all always welcome back. Thank you for sitting down with us,
Thank you so
as
much.
always. We'll
All right.
definitely look out for Married into Crazy.
Yes. All right,
You
guys. You have a good evening.
all right? You can cut us there.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.